Hello, welcome to the dollhouse. I am the doll, and today I'm going to be talking about Saweetie catching strays. Catching strays in the beef between Quavo from the group Migos and singer Chris Brown. These two men are popular in hip hop and R&B music, and apparently they have a beef stemming from Quavo's involvement with Chris Brown's ex-girlfriend, Karrueche. These guys just don't like each other. And recently, they've made a series of songs about one another and, just really down in one another. But apparently it will make them both money. The reason why I'm talking about this at all is because it's a good example for the dolls to see why being someone's girlfriend boosts their status and detracts from yours. Being a man's girlfriend, being seen with him, elevates his social standing, being out in public, giving your commitment as a girlfriend, being someone that's there to support. And then even when you break up, being someone that he can taunt others with by saying that he's had you, or being someone that others can use as a pawn to upset and manipulate him. You've elevated his social status, but he is tarnishing yours. So, in this particular beef, Quavo and Chris Brown got into a fight in 2017 at the BET Awards. And apparently it was because Quavo was seeing Karrueche. And that just goes to show how women have influence over men. And men, even if they claim not to care, they get bothered by women being seen with other men, women moving on. They get bothered by that. Egos are major. The ego trips are major. After that fight, Chris Brown and Quavo have really not had very many nice things to say about one another. And since then, Quavo dated Saweetie. And apparently, as they began to drift apart, Chris Brown and Saweetie hooked up. And neither one of these couples are still together. None of these people are still in coupledom. But the men, both of them can say that they've slept with Karrueche and Saweetie. And both of these men can say, well, I don't want her. You can have her. I'll make another one. Boosting their social status off the backs of these women who had no business on their backs. These women had no business on their backs. If they were following the 6B strategy, they would have never been on their backs. They would have never allowed a man to have that kind of access or to have marked their territory on their lives in this way, because they wouldn't be anyone's girlfriend and they wouldn't have been lying on their backs acting as if they were bound to these men. And I'm glad, they didn't have any babies. And it looks like, fortunately, none of them are still friends with one another. So that's a good thing. Because even after Quavo proclaimed how, he's happy to have broken up with her, he's been in her Instagram inbox, messaging Saweetie, talking about they were mean to each other. So listen, the moral of the story is women expand men socially. Being around, being seen, allowing him to mark his territory over you without any real commitment it usually will backfire because almost every single one of these dating relationships that women are having are just temporary. I mean, have you had more than one date in your life? More than likely you have. And until it's safe to give yourself to somebody emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, it's not a good idea to be anything other than his friend. Because at the end of it, if things don't work out, he will have sucked your energy up and boosted himself up like a transformer and turned into a whole new machine, faster, smoother, stronger. And here you are turning into a jalopy because you let somebody ride you until the wheels fell off. And now you're just a little bit older and a little bit more jaded. This is for the dolls who want to replenish their energy or who never want to spend too much energy in a bad relationship. Those women who do not want to repeat the patterns that they've seen their mothers, older sisters, aunts, grandmothers. They've seen these patterns and they do not want to repeat. Men are fantastic. All men are fantastic. They're natural counterparts to women energetically. However, they are not women and should not be viewed in the same way. They think and behave differently. And when a man sees you with another man, in his mind, y'all are sleeping together. In his mind, a lot of times in a woman's mind, when a woman sees you with another man and you're having a good time and smiling, she's going to assume that you are sleeping with this man too. And it's going to boost his status and it's going to make you diminished in the eyes of the public. Unless, and it's sad to say, I'm not speaking about how things should be. I'm telling you this is how it is. Unless you are married to this man, you're not going to get a boost by being seen with him, even if he's very famous and very rich. People might be more curious about you, but at the end of it, you're just going to be some girl that so-and-so ran through. And maybe it signals to people that you like a certain type of guy from the upper echelon, but it would be better to, be seen as friends and not a boyfriend, girlfriend situation. And even then, people might see you as friends and might assume. Because, you being with him confers status upon him, whether or not you're his cousin, his granddaughter, his date, his constituent, whatever. Being seen with you, a feminine energy person, confers status upon a man. Even if it's an older woman who is being seen with a young man, it confers that he's trustworthy because this woman who is seasoned finds value in his company. It's just a smart idea to make sure that whatever status you're conferring upon a man is well-deserved and that you being seen with him does not violate any rules of impropriety and that you aren't seen out here being sleazy. Just to protect your reputation. We're discussing things like social climbing. We're discussing things like leveling up. We're discussing things like elevating business-wise and in your personal lives. And it's just smart to be aware of how your relationships, dating relationships with men that you may claim can really alter your reputation in the world. And listen, I always reference the 48 laws of power. I'll reference it again. Reputation is everything. Guard it with your life. And now Saweetie is out here fending off attackers talking about her coochie. She's out here with the sword and shield trying to fend off these dudes that no matter what can say, well, yeah, I had that. Who's going to follow them up and say, well, you know what? Yeah, they've had her and, you know, they didn't really wife her up. They didn't fully appreciate her. Now it's my turn to appreciate her. Every man that she is with from the future, from this point forward, is probably going to think about her getting, you know, tagged by Chris Brown. And for most men, it's very intimidating. She may not care. It may not affect her at all, especially if she meets someone who is more elevated mentally. However, we cannot expect much from people in this world. So it's easier just not to have your reputation tarnished than to have to go to battle reversing course and, you know, cleaning things up. And even Rihanna kind of caught some strays from the beef between Quavo and Chris Brown, because Quavo brought up the situation where Chris Brown assaulted her. And, you know, she has to be dragged back down memory lane to her involvement with Chris Brown. She has to be dragged out of her home and her relationship with her new man and her children back down into the gutters of the 2010s, where she was in a ratchet relationship with Chris Brown. It just goes to show that these relationships should be mostly surface level. These men should not be in your inner circle without a substantial investment and without you protecting yourself from the risk of reputational damage. You can only do so much. Even if you marry a guy, he can ruin you. But the risk is lower when someone makes a substantial investment. Then it's lower than if a man is just saying you're his girlfriend, because the likelihood is that you will break up. If half of marriages end in divorce, 99% of boyfriend-girlfriend relationships end in breakup. Which one has a better odds for you? Which one is a more attractive relationship for you? So, listen, it's just something to think about. Reputation is everything. Guard it with your life. Poor Saweetie, Rihanna, catching strays, Karrueche, all light-skinned MLS women catching strays from their relationships as someone's girlfriend. I wouldn't recommend it. Don't recommend it. Never intend to do it again. Done it before. As I said, if 50% of marriages end in divorce, 99.9% of boyfriend-girlfriend relationships end in breakups. There's going to be that one guy, that one woman who elevates things with you. But most of the time, it'll be a waste of time. Again, thanks, dolls, for listening this far. I appreciate you, and I hope we talk again soon.